said, only if she desires that is it possible. And he said, meanwhile, the land of Braj is very far away, and they'll never leave there. And if I take you and go there, then the Yadu dynasties, Yadu members, may be attacked by our enemies. Or worse yet, our enemies may attack Braj. So it's not possible for me to go there. And then Krishna was thinking for a moment. And he told his queens. Let's switch this. Katadina pore have surya uparage tate tirtha snana yacha kore mahabhage bolo Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Hare Katadina pore have surya uparage. In a few days there will be a surya uparag, or an eclipse of the sun. And at that time, all the residents of Bharatvarsh, all the people of India, they'll all go to Kurukshetra to take a sacred bath. And definitely the Brijbasis will also go there. Meanwhile, in Vrindavan, the Brijbasis, they approach their king. Because if you have a problem, you go to the leader. And they went to Nanda Maharaj and they said, Maharaj, we can't live anymore. We can't live without your son, Krishna. And for so many years he's been gone. So what can we do? So they were discussing amongst themselves. And just as they were talking, someone came into the assembly. And that person said, I have a letter from Dwarka. I have a letter from Krishna. And everybody became very excited. Would you like to hear that letter? Please. Yavaschatruk shamana vatinilinam krite smabir udyuktir ishtam tasmat klishta vayam ta pratividam aduna tata labdaschirena asmin suryagrahe yanikila janataya puryamanam kurunam Chetam Vyajaya Kuryamahamatabhavatam Anjasa Sanjanaya. The letter Krishna wrote to his father. And he said, Father, as long as I haven't destroyed our enemies, I'm suffering in your separation, and I desire some way by which we can meet. And now I have a solution. We can meet at Kurukshetra. We can all come together there. Krishna also sent a private letter to the gopis, inviting them. And he sent another letter to his friends. Because, you see, there's a problem. It sounds very nice, doesn't it? The gopis will meet with Krishna in Kurukshetra after such a long time. It'll be so romantic, won't it? But one problem is there, or a number of problems are there. See, the gopis have husbands. And if their husbands also come, it's going to be a little awkward. So Krishna wrote a letter also to his cowherd boyfriends who just happened to be married to the gopis. And in that letter, Krishna said, my dear friends, of course I'm coming to Braj, and I'm going to directly meet everyone there. And those who don't believe this can come to see me in Kurukshetra. He says, my dear friends, you should know the cows are my heart and my friends are my life. So if you really love me, please stay behind and take care of the cows. Gorakshaki. Krishna's very, very clever. And of course the voice said, oh, Krishna has a Krishna service for me. And that service to them is more important than directly meeting with Krishna. They get more happiness from that service than directly meeting with Krishna. So they said, yes, yes, we'll stay behind. So at that time in India, there were many processions of people coming to Kurukshetra. And from Dwarka, there was a huge procession. People on the way, they thought there was an earthquake because there were so many huge war elephants as tall as this building. And they were shaking the ground, the millions of war elephants. And they couldn't look in the direction because all the soldiers, all the elephants, all the horses were covered with gold and silver armor and jewels. And on the back of their chariots, they had piles of jewels and gold to give in charity at Kurukshetra. And when the sun hit the gold and hit those jewels, it created a blinding effect. For hundreds of miles, people couldn't see. Meanwhile, there was another group of people coming from Vrindavan. They didn't have any gold armor. There were no elephants. They had a few older bulls that they put ahead of them. Why the older bulls? Because those bulls were Krishna's dear friends. And they wanted to remind Krishna of something, of some place. And they didn't have chariots made out of gold and silver. Their chariots were made out of old wood. And they didn't have jewels and gold in the back of their chariots. They had gobar, cow dung. They're very, very simple. Why did they have all this cow dung? Because their gobar came from Krishna's favorite cows. And Krishna likes the cooking, the taste, the flavor of that cooking when it's cooked over that gobar. And so those cows, they scent that. And this way, all the residents of Vrindavan were walking to Kurukshetra. And our acharyas described the gopis' condition. They were in so much ecstasy. They were so excited. Sometimes they began running like the wind. And then suddenly, they would fall to the ground unconscious. And then they would get up and again begin running. And at other times, they would become stunned and just stand there like a statue, just thinking about Krishna. So many different people were coming to Kurukshetra, and it's described, we have one rare commentary in the Bhagavatam, that the different kings, they were coming there. Their purpose was punya lava. They wanted to get some piety. I'll take a bath in Kurukshetra during the solar eclipse. I'll get a lot of piety. Maybe I can go to the heavenly planets after this. Very good. The members of the Yadu dynasty weren't thinking like that. They were thinking, Krishna no bhakti ashtiti. They were praying, may we be granted bhakti to Krishna. That was the members of the Yadu dynasty. But the Brijbasis had a different prayer when they were coming there. Shama Sundraera Chandravadana Tanira Eka Falak Darsha. If we can just see the moon-like face of Shamsundar Krishna for one moment. That's all. And that'll give Krishna the most pleasure. They know that also. So Krishna was there at Kurukshetra, surrounded by so many warriors, so many kings, members of the Yadu dynasty. And then suddenly someone came to him and they said, Krishna, there's some people here from a small village. At that time, when the Brijbasis arrived, they came there, and it's described that they could smell Krishna before they saw him, and they knew Krishna was present. So Krishna at that time, he told some of the big kings and people around him, he said that you just wait here a little bit, I have something I have to do. And he took Balaram with him, and he took Uddhava with him. We'll explain that in a minute. And he went to the camp where the Brijbasis were. At that time, Devaki and Vasudeva, Krishna's so-called father and mother, from Mathura, came with Krishna. And they arrived there, and Krishna saw Nanda Maharaj. And Krishna began calling him, Bappa, Bappa. And he began crying and running. And Nanda Maharaj wanted to run and embrace his son, but he became stunned in ecstasy. And all that he could do was just stand there, and he was just crying and crying. And Krishna and Balaram, they fell at his feet, and they They embraced him, and Nanda Maharaj just held them so tightly to his heart, smelled their heads. And then Nanda Maharaj noticed, oh, Vasudeva and Devaki are here, some other personalities. And Krishna said, Papa, where's Mata? Where's Mother? And Nanda Maharaj couldn't speak, he was too choked up. He just pointed. There was a chariot, a cart nearby, which had a cloth over the top. And Krishna and Balaram were letting there. Mata, Mata, Mata. And Mother Yashoda, she came out and she saw her two boys and she started crying. And she embraced Krishna to her heart. At that time, Mother Yashoda did something which in some ways resembles the ceremonial worship of the devotees. On the evening of Janmashtami night, Krishna's appearance day, the Vaishnavas, the temples, sometimes they give Krishna a bath, an abhishek, and they use waters from Triveni, from the Ganga, the Jamuna, and the Sarasvati. You can't see the Sarasvati, but the water's there, the Triveni. So Mother Yashoda was giving a similar bath to Krishna. She was crying, and her tears were soaking her boy's body. And those tears, when they were coming past her eyes, they were mixing with the black cudgel around her eyes, and the tears were becoming, the water was becoming black, like the water of the Jamuna. And at the same time, the breast milk from Mother Yashoda began pouring out, and also giving Krishna a bath. And the milk from her breast was white, like the water of the Ganga. And at the same time, Mother Yashoda was giving her boy a bath and the water of her love in her heart, which no one could see, which is like the river Sarasvati. And so in this way, she was just holding her boys. And Devaki was there. And suddenly she made a little sound. And Devaki spoke in an interesting way. There's a thing called parokshavad. Parokshavad means you say one thing, but you mean another thing. Men are not very good at this. Ladies are much better at this. It's just like on your anniversary day, the wife cooks a big feast, so many things, but then the boys invite you to go swimming. Your friends. So you go home and you say, sweetheart, do you mind if I go with the boys swimming? And then the wife tells you, that's fine, go right ahead. So you should learn something. It doesn't mean it's fine, it doesn't mean go ahead. What it really means, what she's saying is that you can do that, but when you come home, I'm not going to be here. I'm going to my father's house, and you're in big trouble, and you're a jerk. That's parokshavad. So ladies understand this in a deeper way. So Devaki, she began speaking to Mother Yashoda in a very sweet way. And she said, oh, Didi, it's so nice. I just want to thank you. You took care of our son for so many years, even though he wasn't your boy. You were taking such good care of him. I just want you to know that we really appreciate that very much. In this way, Devaki was trying to pierce Yashoda's heart with some nail. But it had no effect. Yashoda didn't even notice her. She didn't even hear a word that she said. She was just looking at the face of her Gopal and crying. And then Krishna, he said, Mata, I'll come back again in a little while. I have to go see someone else. And Krishna and Balaram offered their obeisances, and Krishna said, Balaram will stay with you. And Krishna left, and he put Uddhava in front of him. And Krishna went to see the gopis. Why did he bring Uddhava? Why did he put Uddhava in front of him? Because Krishna is also very expert at parokshavad, the same things in a different way. By keeping Uddhava in front, Krishna in effect was giving him a message. I didn't forget you. Remember? I sent Uddhava with a message of love. He's the proof. He's the witness. He's here with me. You can't accuse me that I forgot you. And Nandakishore Goswami says that when the gopis met with Krishna, Tabi Sabi Bhara Bhara Kore Rodana, Puna Murcha Bhakta Hoy, Nahika Chaitana. They began to cry again and again. And they fell unconscious. And when Krishna saw the gopis, he had to lean on Uddhava. Because, see, the gopis hadn't taken bath. clothes were old and rotten. My Guru Maharaj said once that the gopis had become so thin in separation from Krishna that the rings in their little finger had become bangles on their wrists. And when Krishna saw the condition of the gopis, he began to faint. And he began to cry, and he thought, whatever advice I gave them, Udavera Dvari Jay Upadesha Koila Viraha, Paranopaya Sava Vyarta Hoila. It was useless. Whatever advice I sent them, it didn't work. And so then they saw Krishna. And it said that Sadarana Bhaya Tukya, Tas Savaragela, Antarina Dukha Dura, Tatapi Mahila. The outward pain was taken away, but there was another pain on the inside. The feelings of Krishna and the gopis when they meet at Kurukshetra is a very, very deep, very, very amazing thing. Usually it's said that Aishvarja Priti Sankuchita, that opulence makes love shrink. When Arjuna was shown the Virat Rup by Krishna, he began to offer prayers to him. And he apologized, please forgive me for acting like your friend. Please forgive me for sleeping on the same bed with you. It's the nature of opulence. It makes love shrunken. Here at Kurukshetra, there was so much opulence. And the gopis and the Brijbasis, they saw it, but did it make their love shrink? No. It increased their love. It made it so much, much more intense. And this is what happens every year on this day in Jagannath Puri Dham. It's a place of great opulence. Sometimes devotees, they ask us, could you please give a lecture here at this place to these 1,000 people listening, attending the Rath Yatra, these non-devotees, and you look out there in the crowd. I remember in Budapest it was like this, and we saw there's a gambling casino right next door, people coming out of it. And people literally had hamburgers, hot dogs in their hands, and beers, and some scantily clad woman under their arm, and is smoking. And yeah, we're going to explain to them about Vrindavan and the gopis. So I thought about it, what should we say? And I thought we should just tell them the truth.
Yes.
I said, this festival celebrates rescuing God from mechanical organized religion and bringing him to the village of our hearts. That's Rath Yatra. And this is what happened in Kurukshetra. It didn't make their love shrink. Rather, their love increased more and more. And the gopis, Radharani, they said, we don't want to see you here. We want to see you in Vrindavan. Many, many things happened. I had pages and pages of notes about this wonderful pastime of what happened in Kurukshetra. But what has that got to do with our subject today? We began by speaking about how Krishna in the Gita responded to Arjuna's Vishad Yoga, his lamentation. And Krishna gave confidential, more confidential, and most confidential instructions. Because when we cry to Krishna, when we cry to Guru, we get something confidential. If we just come in an external way, we'll get something external. My Guru Maharaj used to say that one of the synonyms of the samudra, or ocean, is Ratnagarbha, which means that place which has valuable jewels. And he said if you want to get those jewels, you have to dive very deep. If you just stay on the surface, he said, you'll only collect fish. And we don't take fish. We want to dive very deep into Srila Prabhupada's books. We want to dive very deep into the Bhagavad Gita. What is the connection between Bhagavad Gita and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? So, Krishna saying the Vishad, the lamentation of Arjuna, gave confidential, more confidential, most confidential instructions until what was the last instruction? Sarva Dharman Parityagya Mam Ekam Sharanam Braja. And when he said this word Braj, my Guru Maharaj comments on this. He said the word Braj is very significant in this verse. The Acharyas say Braj here means Braj of Prem, the Prem or love available in Braj Bhumi, Vrindavan. And when Krishna said this, the Bhagavad Gita was over. He remembered the gopis so intensely, and he couldn't speak anything more. And he was speaking this thing about surrender, but it's just theoretical. And he realized, I have to come and set an example. And so he came as a devotee. 50 years after Krishna met the gopis at Kurukshetra, there was a great war about to take place. And Krishna went with Arjuna. It's described in the Mahabharata. It's described in the Bhagavad Gita. And what does the first verse say? Dharma chetri kuru chetri samaveda yutsavaha mamaka pandalascha namako bhakti sanjaya. That this place of Kurukshetra is Dharma chetri. Please try to empathize. Try to understand the feelings of Krishna. This is one of the purposes of our bhajan. This is one of the reasons why we observe Ratha Yatra. This is one of the reasons why we observe the appearance and disappearance days of our acharyas. It's actually kind of a Raganuga Bhakti with training wheels. It's something leading us in that direction. We're meant to try to understand the mood of these personalities of Bhaktivinoda Thakur and his appearance and disappearance day. What was his mood? What was the mood of the Lord at Ratha Yatra? We should contemplate on that. And as we said in the beginning of our talk, the nature of Vishad, Jiva Goswami says in Paramatma Sandarbha, is that it's lamentation. When you suffer something, you can understand someone else's situation. So all of us have had different experiences in this world. What was our most intense experience that we had? Maybe our most intense experience was when the day we first came to the temple. And we realized this is what I've been looking for my whole life. We had a very, very powerful experience. And so that temple, maybe that was the Los Angeles temple, New York, in America. And maybe you've been gone from there for 20 years. But if you go back there, 20 years, 30 years later, what are you going to remember? You're going to remember the first time I came here. It was such a powerful experience for me. What do you think Krishna is thinking about when he came to Kurukshetra? He's remembering the gopis. He's remembering the Brijbasis. He's remembering their Vishad, their lamentation. And so this Bhagavad Gita is imbued with those feelings of Krishna for the Brijbasis. And Krishna himself, he needed to set an example, so he came again as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And coming as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he came to repay his debt to the gopis and to the Brijbasis. When you have a debt, that debt is calculated in terms of the largest amount that you owe. So what is the peak, the height of their love, by which we can understand the debt? That takes place at Kurukshetra. Because at Kurukshetra, it's a very unusual thing. In Braj Leela, it's like the Premadhara, the river of love, has two embankments, Sambho Tata and Vipralamba Tata. The embankment of union and the embankment of separation. And those two embankments keep that river of love going. In Kurukshetra, in Jagannath Puri, both things are found together. Sambho and Vipralamba. The gopis and the Brijbasis are meeting Krishna after so long in Kurukshetra. We can't imagine how happy, how overjoyed they must be to see Krishna. But at the same time, there's some other feelings. You left us. Why did you do that? You promised. You promised you would return. They can't forget those feelings of separation. And there's a third feeling. We're with you now, but in a few days, these people are going to take you away. We've been living in Orissa and Jagannath Puri area for the last 23 years. And we do some research, we have our publications. Once I was contemplating one of the festivals in Jagannath Puri. It's called the Bahuda Rath, or when they take Jagannath away from the Gundicha temple and they back to the Jagannath Mandir. Lochan Das Thakur, in Chaitanya Mangal, he says that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu attended all the festivals in Jagannath Puri. He attended that festival when they took Jagannath away from the Gundicha Mandir. So I went to the King of Puri. I went to some of the different Mahants, different leading scholars in Orissa, and I asked them this question. They all said, it's a very good question. And basically all of them said no. He didn't take part in it. But I wasn't satisfied because Lochan Das Thakur said he did. And then later we read a book which has been published. I don't know if it's been published or not, but it's been translated. The Chaitanya Chari Mahakabya by Kavi Karnapur. Not Kavi Karnapur, but by Murari Gupta, excuse me. And Murari Gupta describes in there that Mahaprabhu took part in that festival. But he didn't pull the chariot. He went behind the chariot and he cried, "Don't go, don't go, don't go." This is the mood of Kurukshetra. And this is the mood of Bhagavad Gita. So this Bhagavad Gita is such a very, very practical thing for us. This Vishad Yoga, it has relevance for us in our stage of sadhana bhakti. It has relevance for us in the stage of bhav bhakti. It has relevance for us in the stage of raganuga bhakti, of prema bhakti. And we can understand it, we can see it. How and why it's relevant to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the Radha Krishna Leela. It was a long, curvy journey. Thank you for accompanying me on this. Srila Prabhupada ki, Samveda Bhaktavinda ki, Gaur Premanandi, So, I think we may have a few minutes. Everybody, if you need to go, class is supposed to finish about 3 or 4 minutes ago. If anybody has any questions or comments, please.
So why didn't he come back, Krishna? I mean, he said there are so many enemies, but he always took care of the enemies. Why didn't he come back?
Why didn't Krishna come back?
Such a nice question. Well, there's a few comments on that. Number one, he did come back. Our acharyas describe that Krishna later returned to Vrindavan. Jiva Goswami describes this in Gopal Champu. In the Bhagavatam, it's described in kind of a hidden way. When some of the members of the Yadu dynasty are offering prayers to Krishna, they say, sometimes you go to Vrindavan, sometimes you come back here. And Rupa Goswami comments on that, Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur comments on that, they said that because Krishna was sometimes returning to Vrindavan. Maybe a better question might be, why did he leave in the first place? And many answers could be given for that. Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur in Sartha Darshani, he gives one very beautiful answer. He says that just as one subjects precious gold to fire, so you're selling some gold, you want to market the gold, you want to sell it to someone, people say, is it pure? Or is this mixed with some funny colors or something? So the goldsmith, to prove the purity of the gold, he applies heat, and the gold melts. And then you can see how pure it actually is. So Krishna wanted to glorify the Braj Gopis and show how pure their love was. So he had to have some heat. So that heat was the heat known as Vipralamba Jvara, or the fever, or Vipralamba Agni, the fire of separation. And by doing so, he glorified the Gopis. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur made a statement which is very relevant for us to contemplate on, especially on this day of Rath Yatra, and when we're discussing this point about how the Gita, the connection between the Gita and Rath